letting me know. So I'll be admitting people in as we go along. If anybody has any questions, please use the chat, and then I'll collate those after the presentation. We can kind of quickly go through that as well, and then get over to Andrew as well. And as anything changes, I'll make sure to update people. Otherwise, I'll just turn the time over to Joseph, and we'll kind of go from there.
Terrific. Thank you. If you can set me up to share screen,
You're good to go. Just press that green share button.
Let's see. It still says host disabled participant screen sharing.
It says on my end that one participant can share at a time. Let me just double check here.
This is Turner. I think I fixed the issue, so go ahead and try again.
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go. We're in. Okay. Is that showing up?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, this is the vision. So the picture that you see there on the right is the current master plan for the village, and we'll talk about some of its components here in a minute. But the vision and purpose of this is to create, first of all, self-reliant, peer-led village that provides a safe, dignified, and uplifting life for the chronically unsheltered. We define that as people that have been living for a year or more on the streets. And the goal here is to bring them and the larger community into mutually ennobling relationships. So hopefully what you'll see as I describe who the Other Side Academy is and then who the Other Side Village will be, you'll get a sense that this really is not about the physical infrastructure as much as it is about the culture. And that's what the Other Side Academy is good at. So some may be unfamiliar with us. The logo on the right is the Other Side Academy. We've been around for about 6 years. The Other Side Village logo is there on the left. And so let me give you a little bit of background because there's some principal similarities between the village and the academy that I think are helpful to understand. So some are nervous about the idea of the village because they say you're going to bring people whose lives are pretty disordered into a concentrated community, and that'll create chaos. These are pictures of some of our students from the Other Side Academy when they arrive. So without specifying individuals here, one of these people was living under a bridge for much of her life prior to coming to the Other Side Academy. Another stabbed a homeless person to try to impress a gang prior to coming to the Other Side Academy. Another had a string of violent offenses across the United States prior to coming. Another was up on charges for attempted murder, and another one had been living on the streets, offering themselves for sex to try to stay high for about 20 years.
Away from each other? Don't breathe on each other's face.
Sorry?
Not.
We just need everybody to mute up, please. If you're in the meeting, will you just please mute yourself on your end?
We're going to be taking questions after the presentation, so let's let the Other Side Village continue on. And then at the very end, save your questions. You can always put them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to collate them and make sure they get answered at the end.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So our students come from a pretty tough background prior to arriving at the Other Side Academy. This is our location at 7th East and 1st South in downtown Salt Lake City. This is a picture of some of our students from a few months ago. If you look at the picture in front of you, collectively, they were facing about 600 years in jail or prison time prior to coming to the Other Side Academy. So again, our background is dealing with and helping people who have had pretty tough lives, who've made some bad choices often, and who are in pretty tough circumstances prior to coming to the academy. Our goal in starting it 6 years ago was to create a place that was free, that cost nobody anything, that gave them an alternative to incarceration or to living on the streets. 90% of our students have been homeless for long stretches of time, and to be a place that was clean and ordered and self-reliant where people could learn to change their lives. If any of you drove by about 6 years ago, here's what our backyard looked like. So it had a lot of lean-tos. There were a lot of folks that were unsheltered that were living in the backyard. It was a pretty high crime neighborhood. It was kind of a tough space. Our students cleaned that up, and here's what it looks like today. So again, one of the questions and the appropriate questions about the village will be, are we going to have a positive or negative effect on the community? Well, this is what happened to the neighborhood that we moved into. Our students are very much involved in work. They scraped it clean. They made this a workspace, and we're now able to use the backyard. It's actually starting to become more of a garden and picnic area now, and we'll give you updated pictures later. These are a couple of homes just to the north of our first building that we were able to purchase, and you can see the state they were in when we acquired them. The one on the left was a place where people who were unsheltered generally broke in and slept. It was in quite a state of disrepair inside and had been burned a couple of times. The one on the right was collapsing on itself. And this is what it's become today. So now what you need to understand is the majority of this work was not done by a bunch of wealthy philanthropists from the outside. Most of this work was accomplished by students of the Other Side Academy. Our belief is that the best way to change your life is to have a life of purpose, to be doing something that you can feel proud of. And contributing to building a campus, the two students pictured here are a couple of the ones that helped to build that. And the one on the right was a veteran who made some bad choices in his life and was on his way to a long prison term, but instead was responsible for construction and helped with the remodel of this home. One of the things that we had to figure out at the Other Side Academy when we started was how to support ourselves. We started a moving company. Hopefully some of you are familiar with it. That moving company has grown through the efforts of our students now to 10 trucks doing 250 to 300 moves a month and bringing in about half of the revenue required to support the house, to provide food and shelter and clothing and a supportive staff for those at the Other Side Academy. So it's kind of a remarkable thing. Our belief at the Other Side Village and the Other Side Academy, again, is that all of us do better in life when we have purpose, when we're involved in activities that we can be proud of. As the house grew, we needed to start other social enterprises because our costs were rising and we needed to support a larger community. We're able to get a pretty beaten down retail space on State Street in Murray. And these are our students here that were doing the labor as well and created this beautiful store that hopefully some of you have patronized called the Other Side Thrift Boutique. We now have two of those, one in Mill Creek and one in Murray. They provide close to half of the revenue required to support the house as well now. And a wonderful opportunity for our students to be involved in something that they're proud of, to give back to those who will come after them at the Other Side Academy, and to support the house. Remarkably, our students collectively, the same pictures that I showed you just a little while ago, were nominated for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award about 3 years ago. The two students, my wife is there in the middle. On the left and right are a couple of the students. You may recognize the previous photograph of the one on the left. They were there with some of the business elite from Utah, and they belonged to be there. They fit, they deserve to be there. And they won the award, by the way. So just a little bit about the Other Side Academy. When you arrive, you aren't sent there. No court sends you, nobody drops you off and forces you to go. You have to apply, you want to go. When you come, you agree to live by some principles. The Other Side Village will be exactly the same. It'll be the same in the respect that any kind of meaningful community has to have some standards and to say, here's what we stand for and here's what we're about. So students at the Other Side Academy embrace these and learn to live some of these principles, like making and keeping promises and impeccable honesty and making it about other people, what we call each one teach one. One of the reasons the Other Side Academy is beloved in our neighborhood is that we're about service. So when the snow falls, we're some of the first to go to the assisted living center across the street and help them shovel their walks. When there's a problem in the neighborhood, we're the first on the scene. And that same kind of ethic, we think, will help us to be good neighbors for any place that we go with the Other Side Village. So the question of what's been the impact of our campus. Again, I acknowledge that there are fears and questions that we need to be able to address. But the only real reassurance at the end of the day we can give you is we believe that this can be done and should be done, but we believe that it can be done because it has been done. A community that most people expected very little from has come together and accomplished some remarkable things. The crime rate has decreased. Property values have gone up, not down. There has never been a single act of violence amongst our students. We have strong support from the neighbors. After we'd been there for a couple of years and we had to go get a conditional use permit, we had 55 neighbors turn out in support of our request for a conditional use permit. Our campus is clean, the neighborhood is cleaner. Parents now let their children walk to school rather than driving them because it's safer than it was before. But most importantly, we've had the chance to see lives change. This is Tiffany when she arrived, just broken. And you can look into her eyes and you can see where she was when she arrived. This is Tiffany today. She helps lead the campus at the Other Side Academy. You can see the change that's happened. And you know, this isn't about homeless people. This is about human beings. This is about all of us. All of us do better. All of us thrive when we're in a community where people expect something from us and we have a chance to contribute and we're part of something meaningful. This is Diego when he arrived, and Diego today is in charge of our moving company. This is Tori when she arrived. Tori today is one of the strongest women I know. This is Greg when he arrived. This is Greg just before he left to Denver to go open a second campus of the Other Side Academy. So as you look at these changes, as you look at what this does for people's lives when they have a chance to be in a community like all the rest of us do, where we have friends and people that support us and those who expect things of us and those who hold us accountable, that's how all of us as human beings do better in our lives. So now let's turn to the village. Again, our intention here is not just to create a bunch of shacks and stick homeless people into them. Some people have got it completely wrong. I've read things online of people saying, gosh, you're going to bring all these people together and it's going to be a complete cesspool and a slum in short order. To those people, I would say, look at what's happened at the Other Side Academy. The community is prosperous, the neighbors are appreciative, the crime rate has dropped, and people are actually contributing something. So here's our design. We'll have about 450 or so homes. We will have a similar kind of culture in that there will be pure accountability to try to ensure that it stays beautiful, safe, and prosperous. We'll run social enterprises. This will not be a long-term drain on government money and on taxes. We're not going to be long-term going out and doing fundraisers to try to offset losses in the community. The people that are part of this will have the pride of knowing that they're contributing something. So the question I rightly is asked, why do you think you can do this? Well, the reason we think that it's possible to do is because we've seen that it's possible to create a peer-led community that transforms lives, is beautiful, and is prosperous. So our intention is to do that again with a somewhat different population, but not completely different. We know that peers are the best at maintaining this kind of high morality within a culture. Peers that have lived experience, that have actually been part of the same challenges, are the best at building a deep connection with those who are just starting the process. They're the best at helping people acknowledge and overcome their long-standing weaknesses. And they're the best at achieving self-reliance by getting people into cooperative efforts together. Once again, the target population is those who've been continually homeless for at least a year or for periods adding up to a year or more. The village will, and this has been another misconception, we will welcome those with mental illnesses and physical disabilities, but they have to be folks who can eventually live independently. This isn't an assisted living community, and so they'll at least need to have the potential of getting to that point in their lives. Now the question, will we be accepting couples? We will not accept people as couples. They'll need to apply individually because each case is differently. But if both members of a couple want to change their lives and want to be part of something different, then we'll absolutely include them in the village. Who won't we accept? We'll do criminal background checks. We will not be accepting in this community, and this isn't a judgment. Everybody needs a place and a place that they can go and work on improving their lives, but we won't be accepting those with sex offenses or arson. We will be accepting those who are chronically homeless. So those who are not chronically homeless, but just are incidentally or short-term will not be the target population here. And we're not going to be looking for those who are looking for transitional options. This isn't come and stay for a month and then move on to something else. We're trying to build a community, a high trust place. Here again is kind of a view of the master plan. I'll single out a few of the elements so that you'll understand what this will bring. We truthfully, those of us here today from the Other Side Village, believe that that any neighborhood, anywhere in Salt Lake City, anywhere in the state that understood what this will actually represent would want to have it, would probably compete to have it as a neighbor. We know this because we've been to Austin, Texas, and seen something of a similar scale where the neighbors feel exactly that way about it. So some of the major components of the village will be 400 or 500 homes, on-site medical, dental, and mental health services to make it easy to access, on-site retail services. By the way, in just a moment, we'll hand out a poll. We're very interested in input from neighbors about the kind of amenities you'd like to see, the retail options that would be a benefit to you as well. We'd like to be terrific neighbors. There will be on-site social enterprises to create employment opportunities and help support the village. There will also be on-site Airbnb homes for revenue generation. Those of you that live close, who have neighbors or who have relatives visiting, we believe you'll find this to be a fascinating and very attractive place for them to stay that'll be close to home. Here's a good look at a neighborhood. So you'll notice something immediately different than the neighborhood you live in, where you live side by side with people. Here, the neighborhoods will be organized into rings. The reason for that is to build this peer community. So people are watching out for each other and aware of each other. If somebody is feeling tempted to go use, we want to be sure that they're part of a tight community where the neighbors are aware that somebody's struggling and needs some support. If somebody's doing something inappropriate that isn't good for the neighborhood, we want a neighborhood where people are going to speak up and hold others accountable. That's exactly what we have at the Other Side Academy. As you drive into the village, this is what it would look like. There will be a large cultural hall on the left. We'll talk about that in a moment, but you'll see on the left here, that's the right, I mean. On the left, you'll see the medical, dental, mental health, vocational development services. There will also be retail space where there will be a grocery store, market. Let's see, yeah. A market, a barber shop, a salon. There will be a coffee shop and a deli. So a variety of things. And again, we'd like some input from the neighbors about what would be of interest to you as we make some of these decisions. But as you drive in, this is what you'll encounter: a beautiful downtown that will also be a performance area. So on the right in the picture here, you see a large amphitheater, behind it a 600-seat performance hall. We'd like to be able to invite some of the most prominent musical artists, hopefully in some of the types of music that you're most interested in, to perform here. And we would want those who live closest to us to have opportunities to participate in that. So here's a top-down view of the parking that surrounds it, the auditorium, the event lawn, where the grocery store and deli and coffee shop will be, and so forth. There will be space for open air events. Our intention is to have this be a place where we can have wonderful community gatherings, car shows, Christmas market, craft markets. We'll have a regular farmers market there to try to help address the food desert that the area currently suffers from. Again, a performing arts center. We've already had conversations with a number of musical artists from the state who seem very interested in being some of the first to appear in this neighborhood. As people worry about the village potentially hurting the neighborhood, we believe that it'll actually lift the profile. In Austin, Texas, they get about 10,000 visitors a year coming to this really beautiful and remarkable community. We think that that will raise the political profile of the neighborhood. It will help bring resources to the neighborhood. We'll patronize businesses in that way. And so we think that done right, this will be the actual effect. We've had conversations with the Wallace Stegner Academy, who explained that they don't have a large auditorium right now. We'll have a large auditorium. We'd love for that to be accessible to those who are providing wonderful community service like the Stegner Academy is, so that they could have their graduations or other important events there. The hall will be available for community meetings as well. It'll be a space for large cultural groups and political debates. Interestingly, when the last mayoral election happened, one of the places all the candidates showed up to debate was the Other Side Academy. Once again, we hope to add to the political profile. We hope to add to the community, not to take away from it or to bring negative influences there. So the retail shops will be a significant part of this. This will create jobs. We'll bring other resources to the community. The grocery store, we intend to have a large enough format that it will bring some other products and services that are not currently available. I've mentioned the coffee shop and the deli. The outdoor amphitheater, which will be a terrific gathering place in the nicer times of year. So for those online that are interested, we'd love your input on what kind of amenities, what kinds of shops you'd like to see there as we build the downtown space. There's a URL in front of you on the screen where you can go vote. I think Samuel is about to put on the chat bar a link to that same survey. And so if you want to click on that in the chat bar, you'd be able to give us input after our meeting today about what you would like to see happen. We also recognize that public transportation will be important for our villagers. We're also aware that this is a critical resource for our potential neighbors in Poplar Grove and in Glendale. And so what we want to propose is perhaps a cooperative effort to try to improve that transportation. Many have told us that they'd love to see an east-west UTA bus line that moves along from Indiana Avenue and helps with transportation heading more into the city. We've already spoken with a number of city council people, and we would love to support any effort to try to bring that stop over to Indiana Avenue and to promote increased east-west flow. We have a petition that we're passing to help support that. If this would be attractive to you, we'd encourage you to sign it. Samuel will also put that link on the chat bar, so you can just click on it and sign that petition. We know that there's good support from the city. We also had a meeting with UTA just a couple of days ago, and they seemed open to it if the city supports it. So finally here, just a couple of remaining points, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions you've got. The most direct question that we get is, why will this not become a dangerous slum? So the first answer to that question is, we're already struggling because there are many that are unsheltered that are having effect on some communities that many find undesirable. It's already a problem. This isn't a new problem. It's already a problem in the neighborhood that we're hoping to build the village in. So we're not talking about putting a risk out there that doesn't already exist. There is already a challenge. There are already many that are unsheltered that aren't being supported and are living in undignified positions, and that's a problem as well. But there are 5 things that we'd like you to understand about the village. First, potential neighbors apply and are background checked. That doesn't happen in your neighborhood. It doesn't happen in mine. There are things that will happen in this neighborhood that will make it stronger and safer than any neighborhood I could ever move into. So number 2, you'll first live in what we're calling the welcome neighborhood. You don't move into a home and then there's no holds barred. You'll first go to a welcome neighborhood and you'll stay there long enough to get stabilized, to get sober if you need help with that, and to get comfortable with the expectations of the village. Some people will go to that welcome neighborhood and will say, this isn't for me. And that's fine. They'll be able to exit and move back to whatever life they were living before. For those that take advantage of the welcome neighborhood and get used to it, eventually then they'll be able to move into a home and be part of the community. The home they'll choose will be chosen as they're interviewed by older neighbors in their neighborhood. You know, think of any neighborhood you know of where you get to do that. Who on this call today gets to interview people before they move in next door? We'll be able to do that. The reason that's an important conversation is because we want those neighbors to be able to be part of the accountability system, to be able to express what they want from a potential neighbor. They'll live in a neighborhood with designated peer leaders. There will be people responsible to kind of build community connection and be aware of what's going on. And finally, we'll have problem-solving processes that can happen prior to ever needing to call the police. At the Other Side Academy, we haven't had a single dirty drug test in 6 years of operation and not a single act of violence or police call. There are very few neighborhoods in the entire state that could make that same claim. The reason is we have a strong peer system that catches things early and fixes them before they get out of control. And also we have a restorative justice, a way of solving problems within our neighborhood, and they get solved permanently. Some of the other village features, on-site garden and greenhouses, a dog park, a memorial garden. There will be a non-denominational church. I'll give you a quick view of the homes, and then I'll be done here. So this is a neighborhood in Missouri that we visited. It's a good example of the size of homes and some of the amenities that we intend to have. They'll be about 250 to 400 square feet. They'll be nicely decorated. They'll be owned by the village, so they'll be maintained well. They'll have a bedroom that will be furnished. They'll have a bathroom with a toilet, a sink, and a shower. The goal here is to build a dignified home that any of us would want to live in. They'll have a kitchen with a fridge, a microwave, a sink, a stove, and an oven. And the goal is for it to be a place where you could have a friend over and visit and eat or watch television and just be comfortable and safe for some people for the first time in many, many years. It will be a 4-season home, so it'll have both heating and air conditioning in it. Neighbors will be expected to pay rent. They'll be expected to obey civil law, and they'll be expected to obey the additional rules and standards of the community. I'm gonna pause there. So let me turn this off, and there are other slides we can refer to afterwards, but I've covered a lot of ground. I hope that gives you a little bit of a view of what we're after here. And I think we're turning the time over to Andrew. Is that right, Eric?
Yes. Before we turn this over to Andrew, let me go ahead and just quickly go through some of the questions we've received in the chat, and then we can we'll have Andrew present, and then we'll circle back around with a more open Q&A.
Terrific.
So, and I'll just start reading these out loud and reference the people that are either on Facebook Live or in Zoom.
Okay.
So Madison Elms asks, why can't this project be spread out across the city? I feel that 45 acres is a huge undertaking for any community, much more so for the community that is in recent years beginning to grow.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So the reason the Other Side Academy is first of all, let me say this will be built in phases. So it won't be 430 homes all in one whack. It'll begin with about 56 homes, and then we'll build the culture and build the community and then expand from there. I can explain in more detail, but the high level other answer as to why it needs to be this large is it needs to have a certain scale for all of these additional services to make sense. If we want to have mental health services and medical facilities and so forth on site, social enterprises and these retail options that bring the community together, you can't do that with 40 or 50 homes. We've been around the world and around the country, and places that build 40 or 50 homes end up really being isolated little places where people are kind of pushed out of the way. They don't end up drawing the community together, and they don't create a real vibrant life for people.
Thank you. Umukisia from on the Zoom asked, has the city already confirmed that this is going to happen? Data shows that the targeted address where you guys are going to be trying to lay ground on is one of the most dangerous crime rate locations in the city. Why would this project be placed in a community that is already dealing with high crime rates rather than another location with low crime rates? The data is public in the SLCPD reports online, and this relates to the safety of the project's audience as well as the existing community.
Yeah, good. That's a fair question also, and let me answer in 2 ways. So first of all, this is not a finished project. The city has not made a final decision. The city is very interested in the village being built, but they're going through this public comment process so that they can make this decision. Secondly, if you heard the beginning of the presentation, the effect that the Other Side Academy has had on its neighborhood has been to bring the crime rate down. We have a secure campus. We do patrols around the neighborhood. You can find any negative elements coming in because they know that there's high accountability and high visibility here. So we hope, if we're fortunate enough to be neighbors with you, that you'll actually see that things improve and the crime rate drops. That may sound counterintuitive when you think about the community that we're serving. But if you look at what the Other Side Academy has done, it's possible. It's possible when you have a good, strong community.
The next question, I'm going to summarize a few different questions that I've gotten into this one umbrella question. And if I get it wrong, people in Zoom, please feel free to message me so that I can get some more of the particulars. But one of the bigger questions that people have is, what other locations have you guys looked at and scouted outside of just this one location, and why this location versus the others that you may or may not have looked at?
Yeah, so we had a filter that looked at a couple of things. One is it needed to be a site that was large enough to build the scale so that this culture and this community and all these resources could be brought together. That limits you right off the bat. There just are not that many 30 to 40 acre sites that are available in the Salt Lake area. We looked on the east, we looked on the west. There were a couple of possible sites on the east. There were about 4 or 5 possible sites on the west, but one after another, they were eliminated for reasons like, for example, we looked at one that was just a little ways to the east of the Salt Lake Airport, but there was a flyover zone that had restrictions, so we couldn't build there. There were others that had other entanglements. And so ultimately, not only did we settle on this, we felt terrific about it because number one, we felt we could bring something positive to the neighborhood that could actually make a contribution. Secondly, it was close enough to downtown that people could access some of the other resources that they needed. And third, it had the scale that we needed. So there just were not that many places available.
Thank you. And just a kind of a quick little bit of change in plan from before. Andrew Johnson is here on the line with us, but he's taking a look at other encampments at the moment, and his connection is going to be a little bit tenuous. So we're going to kind of move the conversation about what the city is actually going to be doing about homelessness and the bigger project and how the Other Side Village fits in with that, and focus more on the questions, since we've been getting a ton of questions, and hopefully kind of address them as they come in. So if you don't mind, I'll continue going down the line of what we have in the chat, and then we can open it up to other people, if that's okay.
That's great. And Eric, let me introduce a handful of others from our team here because they may want to help. So we have Mo Egan, who's our Director of Neighbor Recruitment. So Mo, can you say howdy? You might be on mute. I see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I got a flat tire right now, but
Oh no.
I'm listening in. Yeah, so nice to meet you. My name is Mo, and I'm the Director of Neighborhood Recruitment. This project is close to my heart. I smoked drugs for over 20 years. I was homeless for 10 years. I'm 16 years clean and sober. And this is the exact model that helped save my life. It's about the peer accountability. And for the first time, I felt like there was a place that expected something of me. And so I'm just excited to get, some of those folks that are currently homeless right now, and to actually see what that looks like a year or two down the line. I've had the luxury and the privilege of seeing what the model and what the culture can do. And so I believe 100% that this is definitely what Salt Lake City needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. Sorry about your tire. You take care of business. And
Oh yeah, I got it fixed. You just got to put it on. I'm listening in. I've been listening in the whole time though.
Okay, but glad to have you with us. We're living our
All right.
lives.
Absolutely.
So we also have Dave Deroser, who's the Executive Director of the Other Side Academy. Say howdy, Dave.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave, Executive Director with the Other Side Academy, and 27 years of drug addiction and many, many years of my adult life spent in and out of jails and prisons. Never chronically homeless, but definitely situationally homeless on many occasions, surfing from couch to couch or home to home. So I truly believe in this model. And like Mo said, it's, this model, the peer accountability and having expectations and being called on our behaviors and having coaches and mentors helping us improve our lives is critical.
Perfect. And what was your name again? People have asked, and it just says
we have
SLC
Tim
conference.
Stay, who's the CEO of the Other Side Academy. Oh, Dave Deroser. So Dave, you can refer to him as. Tim Stay is our CEO and one of the co-founders of the Other Side Academy and the Other Side Village. And then Camille Winnie is responsible for our partnerships in the Other Side Village, is really one of the ones that's been advocating this idea the longest in Salt Lake City. So that's our team, and let's take it away, Eric.
All right. So the next question is kind of a two-parter here. One is Madison Elms wants you to define what the concept of transitional is in relationship to how permanent people are going to be staying here. And then the second is how are you able to get funding and support this and build this out?
Yeah, Tim, do you want to address that?
Sure. We're looking at chronically homeless, and the definition for chronically homeless is homeless in the Salt Lake area for at least a year or periods of a year over time. We're not looking for this to be something where someone is just looking for a temporary, and these are going to be permanent homes. If they want to stay here the rest of their life, that's what it's designed for, is to create a stable, gated community that people can come into. We're looking in the funding, we're really looking to the private sector for the majority of the funding. We already have, of the first 56 homes, we have about 30 of the homes already committed from individual donors and organizations to build those. We think we have almost all the architectural services donated. We're getting corporate sponsors and some of the large foundation donors. We are also talking to the state about the possibility of some of the stimulus funds that the state has received to help us with the long term. But the first phase, we think we can raise through donations. And so the city is making available this land if it gets approval through the Planning Commission and the City Council. If that gets approved, then we won't be looking for any funding from the city on that.
Thank you. The next question comes from Levi on Zoom. How will you keep this from turning into a slum or turning it into what we have seen with the new shelter on 300 West?
Yeah, be on everybody's minds. I'll ask the way the Other Side Academy deals with everything.
You broke up there a little
Cutting
bit.
out,
Whoever was
Joseph.
speaking. Yeah.
Maybe I can jump in if Joseph's frozen there. We can make a lot of assurances, and I know assurances in the past have been made. I guess what we would say is look at our track record with the Other Side Academy. We've had 6 years with decrease in crime and increase in property values. That's with close to 100 people who have criminal records living there. We've been able to do it with that population. We believe we can do it. We can also look at the community first, model in Austin, Texas. They have about 400 homes, and much of the infrastructure is based on their model. They have seen similar stats where crime in the surrounding area hasn't been an issue and the property values have increased.
It looks like you cut out there.
Okay. Yeah. Did you cover all these points here, Tim?
I just said, look at the example of the Other Side Academy and look at the example of community first.
Yeah. The point I wanted to make is that we get to do 5 things in this community that you don't get to do in any other neighborhood. First of all, there will be cameras throughout to try to help maintain security because we owe people a safe living environment. Potential neighbors apply and are background checked. You'll live first in a welcome neighborhood to get prepared to come to the village, and you won't be allowed to come until you are ready, till you're stabilized and sober and comfortable with expectations. You'll be interviewed by some of your potential neighbors. There will be designated peer leaders in each neighborhood. So again, if you take a look at these, you'll realize these are things that none of the rest of us do in any of our neighborhoods. And these will be provisions that will make it a stronger, safer place than most any place the rest of us live.
So the next two questions I'm going to lump together for you guys, since they kind of center around the culture of the Other Side Village. Are you going to allow dogs or pets, and will there be a community garden and greenhouse to make the village self-sustaining? Those are from
Camille, you
questions
want to
from
address
Facebook.
those? Yeah, great. Camille?
Yes, we are working with a partnership with Wasatch Community Gardens, hopefully to work with them to bring an existing program they have that needs a new location, the Green Phoenix Farm, which actually is a job training program that I helped founded that trains homeless women in job skills and a variety of other life skills. It's a year-long program that's been very successful, and hopefully that will be the new home for the farm. So we'll be operating a community garden farm job program there as well. And pets, yes, we will absolutely be allowing pets there. And we have a great partner, a community partner called Rough Haven, who already works with the homeless population to provide food, veterinary care, vaccinations, fostering for somebody if they have a need, if somebody is needing medical care or rehab or any of those kind of things where they can't care for their animal. They have fostering care for them. They're very excited to be part of the village. They'll be able to offer grooming training, veterinary care, food, and other things. So yes, absolutely, we will support all of those things.
The next question comes from Maxine on Facebook. Will the residents of the community be employed at the retail businesses? I know that's the case with your thrift stores. Joseph, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Employment will be optional. Rent paying is not. Everybody has to pay rent. But what we want is to have a variety of options available for people. There will be job service and job preparation services available that can help people who want to get a job outside the village. There will be opportunities to work in our social enterprises, similar to the Other Side Academy, the way you have the boutiques and the moving company and so forth. So there will be a variety of employment options available, and it'll be encouraged. Our goal is to help people be active and involved in things that they feel great about.
Perfect. Let's see. I think you guys are answering currently the question, but I'll bring it up here anyway because I see some links in the chat. What are other existing projects that have proven successful by the other village that we can use as proof of concept here? And I think there were some links about metrics around what you guys are doing. I'm not quite sure though, rather than just speculative projections. And can we confirm specific metrics which are being promised but not guaranteed, and maybe even vice versa?
Yeah, and you know, the truth is no one can guarantee anything with human beings. So, you know, I would be lying if I said we could. All we can say is that we believe that there's some competence at the Other Side Academy to take a community of people that many have given up on and help them accomplish things that are pretty remarkable. That's what we're offering to do here. This is something that has never been done in exactly this way before. There are pieces of it that have been done wonderfully other places. In Austin, Texas, there's a village with about 500 homes on its way up to 1,500 homes that's shown that you can keep it beautiful and safe. There's a community in Spain that we visited that's shown that you can take people with profound mental health problems and even physical disabilities and run businesses that are remarkably successful. We've seen places in Missouri where they build wonderful, beautiful, little tiny homes in a way that helps improve people's lives. So we've been able to find pieces of this each place, but nobody has been able to do them all in one place and make them self-reliant. That's what the Other Side Academy has accomplished. And we think that's a critical part of people developing self-respect, is feeling like I can solve my own problems. And we think this deserves to be done. If you want to know a little bit about the Other Side Academy's track record, go to the Other Side Academy, theothersideacademy.com, and you'll see under the results page a list of how many people have come through our doors, how many have graduated, how many have gone on to live drug-free, crime-free, and employed. And this has also incidentally been audited by the state, where we turned over all of our statistics and asked them to check them out. And they verified that what we say we're doing, we're doing. It's hard work. Not everybody succeeds at the Other Side Academy. Many quit and leave. but a remarkable number stay and change their lives in really wonderful ways.
So thank you for that. This next question comes from DB on Facebook, and it's a series of questions that all kind of center around the concept of cost. So I'll just kind of spit them out, and I can repeat some as we go down the line. What will the other side village cost, and what is the estimated cost to taxpayers? Who will own the other side village? Who will own the individual homes in the other side village? What is the market value of 34 acres of city property where the other side village will be located? Will the city be compensated at market value for the 34 acres? Why not just build an apartment house for this program? Wouldn't it be more cost effective and better density for the future of limited space in our area? And then finally, infrastructure in the city neighborhood is crumbling and insufficient without the most basic amenities. No sidewalks, sewers, streets paved in decades, etc. Why should I support this development when the city can't maintain existing infrastructure? Can you assure me this will resolve the challenge of homelessness in our community, or will homeless people continue to live on my block in makeshift camps? Whew, a lot there.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do our best. So I'll turn it over in just a moment to Tim, who can talk about some of the cost questions. But I want to address the apartment versus tiny homes question to begin with. So there's a legitimate question there about why don't you build higher density, more units in a smaller space. We're going to be serving a population, many of whom would be very uncomfortable in that kind of an environment. And there have been a number of projects in the city that have been attempted where we bought old motels or old apartment complexes and used those for either transitional or permanent supportive housing. And those are terrific projects and ought to continue. But there are many people that would find that unattractive. The population that we hope to serve, many of whom have significant mental health challenges, often struggle with living with a wall between them and another person. And so we're trying to make a different kind of space here. The second thing I want to address about whether the city is maintaining things is this moves forward. This will be the complete responsibility of the other side village, not the city. And so maintenance of it, upkeep of it, its appearance. Again, please drive by the Other Side Academy and see what we've done there. And that's the same kind of stewardship and responsibility that we'll take in this community. And Tim, do you want to address some of the cost questions?
Yeah, let me just follow up on a couple of questions that are in the comments about asking for backup on some of our claims about lower crime rates and increased values. We can, we've had a number of discussions. We recently were on the phone with Chief Mike Brown, who had looked at this crime rates. He had confirmed that the crime rates in the area since we moved in had gone down. We have a published report from a few years ago, but I'm sure we could get another published report. We've got Blake Thomas on the call today. Maybe he could help us get a published report from the city on the crime rates surrounding the Other Side Academy. We'd be happy to get that and publish it and send it to the both community councils. And then the property values, we can easily show a comparative property value from when we've moved into now to help show that. Sorry, we've got some sound in the background here. As far as the cost, we're looking for about $7.5 million to do phase one. And we've got roughly $3 million of that already committed or donated in hand. So we feel like we're well on track for that. The total project, and we think it'll take 4 to 5 years to finish the total project, will be around $60 million based upon our estimates. And we are looking at some of the stimulus money from the state. We think the state should be a partner in this, not just Salt Lake City bear the burden with the land, access to the land. It will be owned by, the land will continue to be owned by Salt Lake City and leased to the Other Side Village. And the Other Side Village would, as a nonprofit, would own the structures and lease those structures to the residents. The rent structure would be, we're looking at between $250 and $400 a month in that range. And if people aren't working, they would be able to, most of the people that we would be looking at serving would have access to things like SSDI, which it puts it at around the 30% rent to income ratio that many organizations use for housing. I hope I answered all those questions.
Yeah, thank you for that. So one thing that I'm getting a comment on here from Andrew Johnston is the city can ask for a public benefits analysis that would require disclosure of the land costs and other costs and benefits to the city / public if the land were leased or sold. And I think moving forward with this, I think that public disclosure is actually going to happen regardless.
Yeah, we're already in process of providing that information to the Planning Commission.
So yes.
Let's see, Eric, if you don't mind, I think Samuel had a comment to add here too.
Oh, please. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say, a lot of these comments are circling around some of the very most core important questions about neighborhood safety and the impact this will have. What we would absolutely love to do is invite anyone and everyone on this meeting to come and join some group tours of the Other Side Academy. We have opportunities for each one of you to come through and experience what happens when the other side joins a neighborhood and what the impact has been on the community. And you can come and experience that for yourself. So I'm going to pop my email into the chat. If that's of interest to you, shoot me an email and we'll work out a time in the next week or two that works to have you come in and experience in person what we believe we'll be bringing to the neighborhood.
Thank you. The next question again is from Madison. What does the Other Side Village do to dissuade other people from hanging out and staying there? How do you keep it from becoming a congregating point? And what is the long-term time frame? It's from my coffee and tasting.
Yeah. It's remarkable that people will change their behavior if you ask them to a lot of times, and particularly if you ask them persistently. We have no problem around the Other Side Academy anymore with encampments, with people encroaching, with people bringing negative influences in, because we have a cadre of students who 24 hours a day are just walking around, and if they see somebody setting up shop somewhere saying, "Would you please leave?" And they do. People that want to bring a negative element don't like to be watched and don't like it when other people are aware of them, and they don't want accountability. And so we have zero problems with that. You would think that everybody's boyfriend or girlfriend would be showing up because they knew that their old homie was here at the Other Side Academy. We don't have that problem. We'll have the same exact kind of environment at the Other Side Village if we're lucky enough to build it. The saying is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I think just bringing bright light and awareness to the entire village community will help bring greater security to our larger neighborhood as well.
This next question talks about the placement of the Other Side Village here. And I'm going to say two different questions that kind of revolve around the same theme here. From Madison Elms, and this next one was from Yumu Kisa from Zoom. Why can't you do two smaller locations, one on the east side and one on the west side? Why does it all have to be on the west side? And then the follow-up question here is there a backup location for this project if the project is not approved in Glendale?
Yeah, so I'll repeat what we said earlier about the size. There's a certain scale to this that is required for it to function. In order for us to have services on site and enough jobs and enough social enterprises, you can't have 40 people. Otherwise, there are no services, there's no support, there's no real community. You can't do it with 100. So we've kind of calculated based on our experience and traveling around the world and looking at different attempts that this is about the critical mass size. Now, with that said, I know there's an east-west conversation that goes on. I want everybody to understand the Other Side Academy started on the east side, not the west side. So we brought our 100 felons that now live in our house to the east side and found a beautiful home there and created a wonderful community around that. And so that's where we began. Whatever the history is with the city or other sorts of projects, we understand that's a sensitivity, but that's not something that we have participated in. We're offering to do this on the west side in this particular location, and our hope is that this brings millions of dollars in increased businesses for local businesses, that improves transportation, it makes the neighborhood safer. So we're not asking permission to do something negative to the neighborhood. We're trying to describe a vision for something that we hope is incredibly positive, that will be an asset that you'll be proud of. And my dream is that 5 years from today, when someone's saying, hey, I'm coming over to your house, where do you live? That you'll say, I'm 3 blocks north of the other side village. And that becomes a reference point that people are proud to associate with. The final point about building a second village, we're confident that done right, this will become a model for the world. And that our neighborhood, the Glendale and the Poplar Grove communities, will be places people will come to try to learn how to address social challenges in a really positive way. There will be other villages built, perhaps on the east side, probably in Ogden, probably in Provo. And we'd like them to learn from our neighborhood, from Poplar Grove and Glendale, how to do it right.
Thank you. So I have 2 more questions that I have on my docket from Zoom and Facebook. If I've missed any of your questions, feel free to message me so I can get them to the other side village here. So where was I here? Blah blah blah. Oh, so you're going. This question comes from Facebook. So you're going to put this in a heavily industrial area. I'm curious what the surrounding companies think of this coming to their area.
Samuel, do you want to address that at all?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we're engaged in the same kind of outreach with surrounding businesses that we have been here. And I think we've had, a pretty healthy mixture, as we're experiencing now, of people who genuinely care and want to see solutions and who have genuine concerns and thoughts, especially as we've seen the resource centers that have sprung up over the last few years. As people have experienced those create a certain image and a certain expectation. But the businesses that we've had a chance to interface with, and particularly those that we've been able to have come in and experience the academy and see what we've accomplished there in the last 6 years, have been full-throated supporters of this effort. What we've also tried to do is, as we're trying to do with this poll, and what we'd love to hear from all of you, is listen to their concerns about the neighborhood as it exists now, the problems that already exist there, and the kinds of amenities that, with the kind of leverage, both politically and economically, that we're bringing to the neighborhood, we can help lobby for. And when we've had those conversations, they've been incredibly productive. So we'd again ask you, I put that poll in the comment thread again. What we really want to know is, how do we help make your neighborhood better? That's what we believe we can do.
Eric, can I pull one of the questions that I see here out too?
Yeah, please.
I think it's an awesome one. Madison is asking, can this be conditional? If the city doesn't like it in 3 years, can we vote to remove it? You know what? That's exactly the kind of accountability we need in government. We need those conditional commitments of resources, and we would applaud that kind of structure for this kind of an effort. Promote the heck out of it. Any of you on this call with the city council and others, if you want to say, hey, this sounds like a nice set of promises. If it works out, I'm all on board. But hold their feet to the fire. And if they screw this sucker up, yank it out of their hands. That's exactly what we want.
Perfect. Thank you. I knew I'd missed some questions with the rapid fire things that have been going on. So thank you for pulling that one out. The next question that I have is, are you going to require people to be vaccinated and wear masks if not?
Well, if the health conditions persist the way they are right now, when we're actually moving people in, which is probably at least a couple of years down the road, with the public comment process and then the building that's going to be required, then of course we will. At the Other Side Academy, we're completely supportive of health practices, and we will be at the village as well. It's our responsibility to provide a safe, clean, prosperous, healthy community, and that's what we'll do.
Perfect. And Someone had asked anonymously, why is the Community First project in Austin a good comparison when it's 20 miles outside of town?
Yeah, the village in Austin is 20 miles out of town because that was the closest they could get without being in the city limits, and they didn't want to wait 5 years in order to be able to do what they were trying to do. There was so much bureaucracy, different than Salt Lake City, where we have a nice cooperative environment where they get that something like this needs to be tried. They didn't have that same kind of support, so they had to go 1 inch outside the city in order to build it. Now, the thing you also need to understand is it's not no man's land. There are neighbors all around. And we asked to see their police reports. And this will be of interest to everybody that's concerned here today. We asked to see police reports. There are a total of 11 police calls that have been made in this area in the last 6 years, 11 calls. 0 of those calls were for the neighbors saying people from this village are coming over and causing us harm. 11 of the calls were from the village saying some of those neighborhood kids are over here and spray painting or creating a ruckus. So none of the calls were from the actual participants in the village. And if a community is done right, and if you've seen some of the provisions that we've described, you should expect it to be safer than most neighborhoods, and it will be.
Thank you. And Madison had also asked how they can guarantee getting that accountability in place that you had talked about. I don't know if that's something that needs to go through the city itself, or I posted a link way far up to the Planning Commission if people want to make comments about the actual plans themselves. Everything's out in public in the open. I can repost that again if people are concerned about that as well.
Yeah, I know we got Andrew Johnson on this call and Dennis Ferris, and so the right people are listening. We'll be part of those conversations.
And I think it could be easily part of the lease agreement for the property.
I have a question from Kim on Zoom here. Are the renderings we have seen be what the village is going to look like? So she is saying she thought they were going to be colorful cottages, but in the planning documents, they look to be more military style, earthen, beige, earth tone type things. And she's concerned about it looking more like a discipline camp. Have any of these plans been consulted with anyone that is involved in mental health, and what stimulates healing? Or is it old men thinking patriarchal discipline or order is going to heal these demographics? So that's her concern, and I guess you guys can speak to that.
Yeah, as pertains to the colors and everything, the planning documents early on that were shared a couple of months ago were things we put together to be representative of the scale and the quality of what we wanted to put together. The ones I showed today, and I'm happy to put those back up if anyone needs to see those, are a little bit closer to the colors and scale. There's a lot of design work that still needs to be done. The major thing that we want you to hold us accountable to is the general quality of it, the kind of assets that will be there, the downtown area, the amenities. Those are fixed commitments that will be an essential part of this community. The question about patriarchal, what was that again?
She was concerned that the style and architectural design are more coming from you guys having not consulted with mental health professionals and are just some white dudes capitalizing on creating housing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe I can jump in here. We have had discussions and then visited a community. It's called Penny Lane outside of Durham, North Carolina. It's being run by the social work program of University of North Carolina. And they shared their building designs, and they have designed it for people with trauma. They've done quite a bit of extensive testing. So we have been reaching out to groups like that.
Yeah, in addition, I think we mentioned earlier that we spent some significant time in Spain in a community that is designed specifically for those with profound mental health challenges, as well as many different kinds of physical disabilities, and learned a great deal from them. So we hope we're getting input from people who really understand.
one of the other questions is concerning security and police presence. So will you pay for support or support more security along the 9-Line Trail, Jordan River Parkway Trail, etc., where there's huge issues with homeless people sleeping and camping under every bridge and leaving drug needles and piles of garbage everywhere? And there's other comments about what are you going to do about safety vis-a-vis the police, etc. So if you guys want to answer that generally and specifically to that.
Yeah, the safety is something that is of critical concern to us. We owe anybody who comes to live in this village or anybody who lives near the village a safe environment. We'll have 24-hour security. This will be provided often by older peers, members of the community themselves that have an interest in keeping things safe. At the Other Side Academy, we have 24-hour security, and as a consequence, the crime rate in our immediate environment has dropped significantly in the past 6 years. We'll have cameras throughout the village that will help us to ensure that we're aware of what's going on. It will be a gated community. That's a critical element. But something that's hard to explain in this kind of a forum, unless you've been to the Other Side Academy and have experienced it, is that peers are what keep a community safe. It's peers that are watching and aware of what's going on, who are willing to step forward and say, that's not okay here. Who are willing to say, pick up your Coke can, don't throw it on the ground. That's what keeps us from littering. That's what keeps crime down. That's what keeps us connected as neighbors. And that's what the Other Side Academy has shown a capacity to instill and create. I want to mention one thing just so that we're not misunderstood. We're making regular reference to the Other Side Academy. There is a significant difference between the Other Side Academy and the Other Side Village. The Other Side Academy is, for many of our students, an alternative to incarceration. It's a program. It has a limited length of time, and then people move on with their lives. The village is not going to be the same kind of peer community as the Other Side Academy, in the sense that we're not going to be limiting the mobility of people. People come and go. These are homes. It's a neighborhood. They'll have all the freedoms that any of us enjoy. It will, however, have some of the same principles involved, but other than that, it's significantly different. We also, at the Other Side Academy, some may be aware, don't accept those who are on psychoactive medication and have significant mental health problems. The Other Side Village will be much different in that respect. We will be welcoming people with those challenges because we'll be equipped there to help them.
Thank you for that.
Just to add to that, you know, the Other Side Academy has folks that regularly come by, and as a way of informing them how the Other Side Academy works, we do tours of the Other Side Academy. Now, at the Other Side Village, you just won't be able to walk up as it relates to visitors as well. Those folks that are living there, there'll be a location where you have to check in. It's not something where you can walk in right off the street. You'll have to notify us ahead of time. So it won't be that open campus where anybody can walk in off the street. And I just wanted to give another example, what Joseph just explained about the peer accountability and the security. I just recently had some friends visiting me from Atlanta, Georgia, a couple, and they know a little bit about the Other Side Academy, but they decided to walk over there themselves. And when they got there, they were walking around, and several people in different occasions asked them, well, are you here to see somebody? Why are you here? Is there something we can help you with? So it's that kind of things that when it comes to security, people on site, we notice and then we have our antennas up about.
Sweet, thank you. That ends on a good note here. So I haven't received any other questions, and so we're going to go ahead and sign off with this. Madison has asked, she wants to know, well, where do I go to talk to the city, talk to you guys? Sam has put his email down several different times, and I think you can reach out to the Other Side Academy, Other Side Village through Sam. As far as local leaders you can talk to, there are 3 different things you can do here. You can reach out to Dennis Ferris, who's posting in the chat there. He's posted his phone number and email before, and I'm sure he'll post it again. Maurice has put his email in there. You can also reach out to Andrew Johnson, who is running and strategizing about homeless issues for the city. You can also go to the Planning Commission and see the designs. There's a link up twice, I believe, in the chat. I'll be more than happy to post that, and you can leave comments there as well. I know I do want to give the time over to Sam for one last thing to talk about where they're going to be at next if you want to continue the conversation as far as meetings that they're going to be at, and also have him put his email again in there so that people have adequate recourse to contact people from the other side village as well as from the city. Sam, if you want to go.
Yep. So really, this is just the, one of a few initial steps to start our outreach with the community. We are creating as many opportunities as possible to interact with you guys. And we'd love to do that, whether that's digitally or in person. So we have a few people from the other side village popping their email in. I'm going to throw mine in one more time. And really, I'm probably the best place to go, and I can split you up to where it's going to make the most sense. But I'm also going to throw the link to our poll in one more time. We'd love to get your input. It has opportunities to tell us what you'd like to see, as well as to give us some open, open source feedback. And then we will also this Thursday be at the Fair Park Community Council meeting in person. We would love to see any and all of you there. That's going to be at the Northwest Recreation and Community Center at 6:30 p.m. So again, that's this Thursday at the Northwest Recreation Center. I believe that Andrew Johnston will be there with us as well to give his side of what the city is doing. So reach out to me. Again, we'd also love to give you guys tours of the Other Side Academy. We understand that we're making a lot of promises, and that's at least one good way to come and verify the kind of work that our organization does. So we hope to hear from y'all, to see you in person, whatever works best for you. I just popped those into the comment chat. And thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, one last thing, Sam, I don't know if you're looking at the Facebook feed, but there's some questions that I had not gotten sent to myself, and I don't know if you can go in there and take a look at some of those questions. They may have already been answered from previous questions, but I'm not really sure. That's a little bit of my blind side here. I'm moderating the Zoom chat. So yeah, if you want to take a quick second to take a look, I know that one of the questions that I received, again, I think this was answered before, but it may be worth repeating. Why Glendale? Why Redwood Road versus other things? So
yeah, I think we have gotten that question a few more times. Dad, if you want to tee that up one more time of why this specific site and why the west side.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So first of all, we did a broad search. Am I still on?
We lost you for a sec, but you're good now.
We can hear you.
Getting me? Okay, good. Pretty stringent.
And actually, then
we needed to have at least 30 acres to create the size of community that would work. Am I there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you're breaking up some. So Tim, why don't we have you jump in and answer that one for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
We came up with and looked at almost every available parcel in the city that had 30 plus acres. We went through a number of criteria and came down with a selection of being able to have access to transportation, being close to city services, and being able to be in a place that was not so far out that it didn't make sense for the residents to find employment or be able to access other resources. And when we combined all those together, the Indiana parcel came to the top of the list.
And then it looks like, is Patrick Fryer, do you mean to have your hand raised?
I do. Is it all right if I make a statement?
Please.
So I have a little bit of a soapbox for everyone on the line and in the comments section. I think the morals and ethics of this project clearly are consistent with the history and ethics of our state. Utahns have historically been and should remain the type of people who welcome those that need a helping hand. My home is near the proposed location, and in keeping with the best aspects of Utah, I would welcome you as neighbors. The Lord does not give up on us, and we should not give up on the most needy. The model of this presentation that's described today very clearly shows that the people in the village are people who want to help themselves. This neighborhood already has a high crime rate, and clearly fresh thinking is needed on this issue. So at some point, the question of being an ethical neighbor is a question of buckling up and putting your moral money where your mouth is. So I support the project, and I hope y'all wish you all the best.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll do our best to earn that support.
Thank you. So as we are wrapping up, again, there's a bunch of contact information. If we missed your question today, I'm sure that they're going to put on their Facebook where the Fair Park meeting is and at what time. You can also reach out to Nigel Swaby, who runs Fair Park Community Council, and he'll be, and you can look up Fair Park as well and find their meeting times. And you can also, again, email local representatives, email Sam, Joseph, whoever put their email from the Other Side Village to continue asking more questions. So thank you guys again for your time and the presentation, for taking the time to answer the questions. And again, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. This isn't just a one and done thing. I wish to hear from every one of you and to continue having this conversation so that we can better understand what's going on.
Thank you, Eric. You did a terrific job facilitating. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.